Hey guys, I'm Danielle Hensley, and as you can see, I am joined by Adam Stevens, championship winning crew chief for Kyle Busch and the NASCAR Cup Series. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on this little show today.
Oh my gosh, thank you for joining us. I have so many questions for you, but I have to start with how you ended up here. You have had quite the journey in your career, so tell me, where did it all start for you?
How long's the show? How far do you want to go back?
We have all the time for you.
Okay. Well, I got in racing like most people did, just through family. My dad raced dirt late models when I was a kid, and started dragging me to the race car shop and to the track when I was 2 and 3 years old. And gosh, I did that from the time I could barely walk until I was old enough to drive. And then we built one of the old cars in the back and started taking 2 cars to the track. And eventually he kind of phased out his driving, and I kind of stayed with it and raced from the time I was 16 all the way through I got out of college.
So you raced for quite a few years. So what happened then? Did you see that maybe driving wasn't your future, but you wanted to stay?
Yeah, that's a polite way to say it. Yeah.
Okay.
But I went to school and got a mechanical engineering degree at Ohio University. And in the meantime, you know, progressing through racing and trying to move up and trying to get better. And my pace was maybe a little bit slower than some other people. And eventually you see that you know, all of us can throw a football, but not all of us are Tom Brady. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I've kind of figured out a different angle into the sport and had some friends that worked on my car and worked on other teams, dirt racing actually, and made their way into NASCAR. And I'm like, man, that sounds pretty awesome. So just started beating on doors and coming down here to meet people. And gosh, I drove down here 8 or 9 times just cold calling and passing out resumes, and eventually got an opportunity at Petty Enterprises.
Man, I mean, going door to door, handing out your resumes, it sounds like the younger version of yourself did pretty good, but if you could go back and give yourself advice, what would you say?
Well, I don't know, because I kind of followed my dream, you know. I could have, I had job offers from auto manufacturers and aircraft engine places and things to do, you know, traditional engineering stuff, good jobs. And but that wasn't where my heart was, you know. So I think the advice I would have given myself, I already took it anyway. But there were times where it was tempting to be like, oh man, you know, nobody's calling me back. What do I got to do? But I stuck with it, and I stuck with it because, you know, my family encouraged me. There was never any discontent or questioning what I was trying to do. And once the ball got rolling, it started rolling downhill pretty quickly.
Yeah. Speaking of family, everyone says that NASCAR is a family sport, and how sweet that you grew up racing with your dad, and now you're in NASCAR. What about your kids? Are they ever going to have a driving career, you think?
Well, if they're anything like their dad, probably not. But you know, they're not really involved in racing right now. They enjoy watching and ask a lot of insightful questions and keep up with it, but they're so heavily involved in flag football and baseball and basketball and all the other sports right now, and kind of trying to steer them down that path for the time being. But you know, racing to me, you have to be all in or all out. There's no dipping your toes in. So with me and my more than full-time job and then being busy with school and sports, now's not the time, but maybe later, we'll see.
All right, now growing up a fan of NASCAR, who is your favorite driver?
You know, I liked a bunch of guys because I was a fan of the sport, but if I had to pick one, I would probably say Mark Martin. When I was in my younger days and really into it, he was winning a lot of races and driving that old Folgers car and then the Valvoline car, and I just liked his kind of workman approach to it, and he could be fast anywhere he went. Yeah,
absolutely. What was your favorite race to attend as a fan?
Okay, that's a good one. You know, NASCAR races, we only went a couple times because we were always racing on the weekends.
Right, y'all were busy yourself.
But I remember one time we came down to North Wilkesboro. It must have been in the early 90s. My dad and I and one other guy flew down here in our little Cessna airplane and went to North Wilkesboro and watched the race, and I believe Dale Earnhardt won that day. But it was just awesome because I'd been to plenty of racetracks all over the Midwest, but never been to a place like that. And then a few years later, went to Charlotte, And then I think I went to Bristol one time too. But yeah, so we didn't get out much because we were at the track ourselves.
Y'all were too busy yourself. You're already involved in the sport. But what about now? Where is your favorite track to go and race now?
There's so many. So, over the years, I've really liked Dover.
Okay.
Going back from the first few times I went there as a race engineer in the early 2000s, all the way till now. It's just such a cool place. It's so hard to get around, so difficult.
Right.
And the track geometry, there's just not a place that we go to that's quite like it.
Right.
Another thing that's really cool is where the trucks park and in the garage area, it's so close to the racetrack. Standing on top of the truck, you can really see how hard the drivers are working.
Right. Okay, we're going to end this interview with a car-related question, not so much racing, but do you name your cars, and if so, what's its name?
The race cars or street cars, or either?
Let's do both.
Well, I really don't get too attached to inanimate objects.
Okay.
And so I don't think I've ever named a race car or a street
Really?
car, as sad as that might be. But
I know. I name all of my
you?
cars, and they rhyme.
And do you like pet the dash when you get
Oh,
in
definitely
there?
not.
How's that work?
Definitely not, but I do have like a bond with my cars, I drive them a certain way, we have a connection.
Yeah.
I have to name them.
Okay, well maybe I'll have to get on that program.
It might be a little different. You might see a change in your relationship.
I try not to get too attached to the race cars because they come and they go. We don't race them too many times, and things are always changing, and I can't play favorites because we change cars every week.
That's
I don't
true.
want them to, get a little upset if I'm showing more love to one than the other.
Maybe it's different coming from an engineering side of it. You see a different side to the car.
Maybe so.
That's fair. Well, Adam, thank you so much for joining me today, and good luck the rest of the
All right,
season.
thank you.